Good morning. Today we are going to be discussing and creating a still life drawing. We've watched a brief video about Paul Cezanne and looked at some of his still life paintings that he's done. So today we're going to be creating our own still life painting, which again is a picture of objects that are still from everyday life, such as bowls of fruit or a vase of flowers. So we're going to start by having our paper horizontal in front of us. And our still life, we're going to do a little bit differently. We're going to be doing ours from a bird's eye view. Now, if you're wondering what a bird's eye view is, well, birds usually are flying above us. So the bird's eye view is a view as though you are looking down on our plate of fruit. All right, so it's going to be a little different than traditional. I think before we've talked about perspective when we did our snowmen, looking down on us. Well, this time we are looking down on a plate of fruit. So a couple things that I want to mention before we get started is I really want you guys to pay attention to the size that I'm creating. I want you to really use up the space of our paper so we can create a nice big image, and we'll have plenty of room to be painting with our watercolors when we are done. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to start by, and let's watch first, and then I'll give you time to create your own. Let's start by creating a nice big circle shape for our plate. Okay? Why don't you all go ahead and make one big circle. If you look, my circle almost touches the top and almost touches the bottom. Okay? Now we're going to be creating apples. But we're just going to be using kind of circles, not exact circles. Apples aren't perfectly round, but when you're looking on them, down on the apples with the stem in the middle, they do have more of a round shape. So, and again, we want our apples to be nice and big too. So there's one apple nice and big, another apple nice and big, another apple. All right, so we should only have room for about 3 apples, maybe 4, but I'm going to stop at 3 because I don't want to squish in any teeny tiny apples. Because as we all know, once we start doing teeny tiny things, it's really hard to get painted. All right, next thing I'm going to do is add a little bit of detail so we can tell that these are apples and not just circles inside a circle. I'm going to start with, if you notice when apples tend to go down in the center where the stem comes out. There's sort of a little divot in our apples. So we're going to make just kind of like a little smile in the middle of our apples for where the stem's going to come out. Okay, next we're going to have a little stem coming out of our apples. So we start just kind of with a curved line, a little horizontal line over, and curving that line back to our starting point for our stem. And again, we want to make these kind of big because we want to be able to paint inside these after. All right, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Well, give us a second to make sure we have all our apples, and I can also pause this at any time if we need extra time. Okay, in addition to our apples on a plate that we are looking down on, we also want to decorate the tablecloth underneath our plate. So we're going to start by making some horizontal lines across, and no, they do not have to be perfect. Notice I stop at the edge of my plate and then pick up at the other side. Again, from the edge all the way to my plate, stop, pick up my pencil, and off to the other side. And we're going to do that, leaving plenty of space in between your lines. Okay, and I'll have room for maybe one more right along the plate there. Okay, so I have stripes for my tablecloth. Next thing we're going to do, and I'll give you a minute, I'll pause here. We're going to hand out some black oil pastels. And with the black oil pastels, we're going to trace, not color in, just trace along the line for our plate and the circles for our apples, as well as these little lines we made for the divots, and lastly, our stems. So let's start with doing that. And is it okay if you don't trace exactly on the pencil? Yes, that is fine. If need be, you can always go back, and anywhere where you didn't trace right along the pencil, we can erase any extra pencil marks that are showing before we start painting. There we are. And tracing along the outside of the apple, its little smile divot, and room for the stem. Again, along that just outer edge of the apple, the small divot, and the stem. Okay. Next, we're also going to be, I know some of you are probably still working on your tracing, but if some of you are ready, to go ahead and trace along these lines that we made for a design on our tablecloth. Okay. And I'll pause it here to make sure we're all caught up. All right, for this next part, it may be really tricky for you to see up here, and if that is the case, then I can always show you guys again in live view, but for the video purposes, what I'm going to be doing is using a white oil pastel to create designs on my white paper. Now you may ask, why would I be doing white on white? And the reason is that we're going to, if I can find my white, be creating hidden designs, and because as we have used sometimes before, the oil pastel does not get covered by our watercolor paint, we can use the watercolor paint to show the white designs that we are making in our tablecloth. So I have my white oil pastel, and let's see how this goes with here. I'm going to start by creating a swirled, I don't think you can see that on there, a swirled pattern across my tablecloth here. And then the next one, I'm going to do polka dots. I'm going to do a big dots and colored in dots, and also just some little dots. And you guys, I'm going to let you create your own kind of pattern that you would like on your tablecloth. Remember, a pattern is something that repeats over and over again. So I did swirls, I did polka dots, so I'm going to do swirls again. And polka dots. And I know I haven't finished yet, but I just kind of want to show you, I'm going to fast forward ahead here and show you how this is going to look on my next clip once we add our watercolor paint. Now I'm not sure that we will have time to get through to the part where we add the paint on today, but we will definitely be able to finish these up for next class. But you'll hold on, I will pause this, and if we have time, I'll show you a quick clip of what this is going to look like so you'll know what we're talking about for next week. I'm going to stop here for this video for today, and we'll continue next week with adding the color. Goodbye.